I never thought I'd be that guy, the one who gets completely blindsided by the woman he loved. Emily and I had been together for about 6 years. We met in college, and at first everything seemed perfect. She was gorgeous, confident, and always had that sassy attitude that I couldn't resist. We moved in together pretty quickly, and things felt solid, until the last few months anyway. It started with little things. She'd get defensive whenever I asked about her phone, hiding it, changing passwords, acting suspicious whenever I tried to look. I brushed it off at first, thinking maybe she was just stressed or overwhelmed with work. But then the late nights started piling up more than usual. She'd say she was working late or with friends or at some book club that I'd never heard of. Yeah, I know, right? A book club. I'd find her lying about small stuff too. She'd say she's going shopping, but then I'd see her sneaking out after I went to bed, or she'd be texting someone in a way that just didn't feel right. I never wanted to be that guy who stalks her or digs through her phone, but the gut feeling kept gnawing at me. Something wasn't adding up. Then came the funeral. My dad passed away unexpectedly, and I was crushed. My world fell apart in those days, and all I wanted was to be with my family, to grieve in peace. Emily was there. She said she was supporting me, that she loved me, that she'd be my rock. That's what she kept telling everyone. But even during that dark time, I noticed snippets of her behavior that seemed off. She'd get a little too close to my best friend, Jake, whenever she thought I wasn't looking. Little glances, quick touches, like she was trying to make a point. But I just shrugged it off, telling myself maybe I was paranoid. Maybe grief was making me see things that weren't there. Then one night I was cleaning up some old emails on my laptop just to distract myself from the pain, and I saw something. An email exchange. My heart almost stopped. It was from Emily. She'd been emailing Jake. Not just casual, surface-level stuff. It was intimate, flirty even. She told him she missed him, that she felt alive when she was with him, that she couldn't wait for their next secret meeting. I couldn't read more. My hands were trembling so much I had to close the laptop. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut, like my entire world just collapsed around me. I couldn't sleep after that. I stayed up all night staring at the ceiling, trying to make sense of it. How long had this been going on? How many times had I been blind? The most painful part was realizing that she was cheating on me during the worst week of my life, when I was burying my father. I thought I knew her. I thought she loved me. Turns out I was just a placeholder while she was out there screwing my best friend behind my back. And the worst part, she had the nerve to act like everything was fine when I confronted her. The next morning I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a train. My mind kept replaying that email, that betrayal I'd uncovered in the dead of night. I couldn't focus, couldn't breathe right. I knew I had to confront her, but I also knew it wouldn't be easy. Emily has always been the type to lie her way out of anything. She's bitchy and manipulative. She'd spin a web so thick that even a spider would be impressed. I didn't want to just yell or storm out. I wanted the truth, raw and unfiltered. I waited until she was in the kitchen, sipping her coffee like everything was normal. She looked at me with that innocent smile, the one that used to melt me. I looked her straight in the eyes and asked, "Who the hell have you been texting? And don't bullshit me, Emily. I saw the emails." Her smile froze. That little flicker of panic flashed across her face for a second, but she quickly recovered. "What are you talking about? You're overthinking things. You're upset about your dad. It's probably messing with your head." I didn't buy her act. I leaned in closer, feeling that burning anger rise. "Don't lie to me. I saw your emails. You're screwing Jake. During my dad's funeral, while I was crying over losing my father, you and Jake were meeting up behind my back. How could you? How long has this been going on?" Her eyes narrowed. "Oh, so now I'm the bad guy just because I had a little fun. You're acting like I slept with him in our bed. Honestly, it's none of your business. Jake and I—" "Stop," I cut her off. "Don't even try to deny it. I know everything. You've been lying to my face for months, haven't you? While I was mourning, you were out there cheating on me with my best friend. How sick are you?" She scoffed, crossing her arms. "Look, I was just bored, okay? It's not like I was in love with him. It's just sex. It doesn't mean anything. You're so damn emotional right now. You're imagining things because of your dad. You're overreacting." That's when I saw it, the full-blown bitchy attitude, the way she was trying to gaslight me. I knew her too well. She'd always deny until I had enough evidence. And I had enough. I told her, "You're such a liar. You think you can lie your way out of this. I'm done. I want you out of my house. I want nothing to do with you anymore." My voice was trembling, but I kept my composure as much as I could. Inside, though, I was boiling. She sneered. "Fine, go ahead and kick me out, but you're just a weak little man who can't handle the truth. I did you a favor. You're too broken to see it now, but I'm better off without your pity." That moment I realized I'd never been more furious. She'd betrayed me in the worst way possible, especially during one of the most vulnerable times of my life. As I watched her walk out the door, I felt this strange mix of rage and despair. How could she lie so effortlessly? How could she be so cruel? The woman I loved, the woman I thought I knew, was gone, replaced by someone who'd cheat, lie, and manipulate her way through my grief. I was left standing there, feeling like I'd been torn apart from the inside out. I didn't know what to do next. All I could think about was how she'd play the victim, how she'd try to twist everything to her advantage. But I also knew I couldn't keep pretending. I had to face this head on, no matter how much it hurt. The days that followed felt like living in a nightmare. I couldn't wake up from. I was angry, hurt, and honestly just numb. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her sneering, heard her lying about how it was just sex, like that somehow made it okay. I kept replaying that email, her words, her dismissive attitude. The worst part was realizing she had no remorse, no guilt, just that bitchy smirk, like she thought she was smarter than everyone else. I started digging deeper, trying to piece together how long this had been going on. I went through her phone when she wasn't around, found more messages, flirty texts, plans to meet up, even one where she told Jake she needed a real man, that she was sick of my weak ass. Reading that made my stomach turn. I saw her lying to my face about everything, and it made me feel so stupid for ever trusting her. I confronted her again just to get her to admit the truth outright. I told her I had all the proof, every email, every text, every lie. She looked at me this time with pure disdain and said, "You're just jealous. You're bitter because you're losing me. Jake's better in bed anyway, probably better. Everything. You're lucky I even stayed with you after everything, but I'm done pretending I care." That was the moment I realized she had no shame, no guilt, no empathy for what she'd done. She was just a selfish bitch who thought she could get away with everything. I felt my blood boiling. How could she be so cold, so manipulative? I told her, "You're disgusting. I hope you're happy with your slutty little affair. I'm done with you. Don't come back." But I knew I couldn't just let her walk away that easily. Something in me snapped, and I decided that if she wanted to play that game, I'd give her a taste of her own medicine. I started planning my revenge, not in some crazy way, but enough to make her regret ever crossing me. I knew she liked to lie, to spin stories, to make herself the victim. So I was going to make her see what it felt like to be betrayed, to be humiliated. One night I set up a little trap. I knew she was planning to meet Jake again, probably to seal whatever sick deal they had. I followed her, kept my distance, and then I recorded everything. I caught her sneaking out, looking around to make sure no one saw her. She was so smug, so confident she could get away with it, but I had proof now and I wasn't planning to hold back. The next day I confronted her with the recordings. Her face went pale for a second, but then she snapped. She started spinning her lies again, saying I was nuts, that I was making it all up. I pressed her harder, showing the videos, the texts. She got furious, calling me names, saying I was insecure, pathetic, that she deserved better than this jealous, crazy husband. That's when I knew she was beyond saving. She convinced herself she was the victim, that she was entitled to cheat and lie. But I also saw the cracks in her armor. Deep down, I knew she was scared, scared I'd finally figure out the truth, scared I'd leave her for good. And honestly, that's exactly what I was thinking. I didn't want to be with someone so toxic, so dishonest, so bitchy. I deserved better, even if it hurt to admit that. So I made my decision. I was done. No more lies, no more pretending. I was going to take everything I had left and rebuild my life, even if that meant starting from scratch. Because as much as I loved her once, I knew now that she was poison and I couldn't keep drinking from that cup. After I showed her the recordings and texts, Emily's face twisted with rage and frustration. She screamed at me, calling me all sorts of names: pathetic, jealous, insecure, and accused me of spying on her just because I was obsessed with her. She tried to turn it around, saying I was the one who ruined everything by not trusting her, by being too insecure to handle her freedom. But I wasn't buying her bullshit anymore. I knew what I saw, what I heard, what I recorded. She stormed out that day, shouting that she was done playing the victim, but I knew she was just trying to save face. Deep down, she was scared. She knew I had all the leverage now. I felt a strange mixture of relief and emptiness. Relief because I finally knew the truth. Emptiness because, well, everything I believed in, everything I thought was real had been shattered in an instant. My wife had been cheating on me with my best friend during the worst week of my life, and she had the audacity to deny it, to lie like nothing had happened. I spent the next few days in a fog. My mind kept jumping back to that funeral, to how I had been so vulnerable, so broken, and she was out there sneaking around behind my back. I kept asking myself, how did I miss all the signs? Was I that blind? Did I really love her that much? Or was I just fooling myself because I didn't want to face the truth? I kept replaying her words, her smirk, her lies. But I also started thinking about my options. I knew I couldn't stay with her, that much was clear. But part of me still wondered if I should fight for the marriage or just walk away for good. Some advice I read kept echoing in my head. If someone cheats once, they'll do it again. I started to believe that maybe I deserved better than a woman who could lie so easily, who could betray me during my time of greatest vulnerability. One night I sat alone in my apartment staring at the walls. I realized I needed to make a decision. Staying didn't feel right anymore. How could I trust her again? How could I rebuild after this? But walking away was just as terrifying. It meant losing my best friend, losing the woman I'd loved for so long. Still, I knew I had to choose myself. I had to decide what kind of life I wanted to live, one filled with lies and betrayal, or one where I could finally heal. In the end, I decided I'd had enough. I told her the next morning that I wanted her out of my life, permanently, that I wasn't going to be a victim of her games anymore. I called a moving company, packed up her things, and told her not to come back. She tried to plead, to cry, to say she loved me, how she was sorry but couldn't help herself, but I wasn't buying it. Love doesn't cheat during funerals. Love doesn't lie and manipulate and betray your best friend. Love is respect, honesty, and trust, and she had lost all of that. That day, I felt a strange mix of liberation and heartbreak. I lost a wife, sure, but I gained clarity. I realized I'd been blinded for too long, playing a part in a story I no longer recognized. I had to start over, rebuild my life from scratch, and somehow I knew I would. It hurt like hell, but I knew this was the only way I could finally be honest with myself, that I deserved better than a woman who could cheat and lie during my most vulnerable time. And honestly, I'm still trying to put the pieces back together. The days after she left felt like I was walking through a fog, everything blurry and numb. I'd never felt so betrayed, so humiliated. I kept thinking about all the moments I'd loved her, trusted her, and how she'd thrown it all away in a matter of weeks. The worst part, knowing she didn't even seem to care, that she'd destroyed everything we built together. That bitty smirk still haunts me sometimes when I close my eyes. It's like I can still hear her dismissive voice telling me I was crazy, jealous, or pathetic for catching her. I spent days trying to piece myself back together, avoiding everything and everyone. I didn't want to see her or even talk about her. I didn't want to hear more lies, more excuses. The only thing I kept coming back to was that feeling of emptiness, like I'd lost a part of myself along with her. But I also knew I had made the right call. Staying with someone who could cheat during my dad's funeral, who could lie so effortlessly, wasn't a life I wanted anymore. I finally decided I needed to confront Jake, my best friend, the guy I'd trusted more than anyone else. I couldn't let him walk away unscathed. How could he do this? How could he betray me during the worst week of my life? I felt like I was in some damn soap opera. Nothing in my life was real anymore. I called him up and I told him I wanted to meet. I needed answers. When we finally sat down, I laid it all out. The emails, the recordings, the truth. His face went pale and he looked guilty, exactly what I expected. He tried to justify himself, saying they were just sex, that she was hot and fun, and that he didn't mean to. Hurt me? That's what really got me, how cavalier he was about everything. I told him, "You're supposed to be my best friend, and you're out here screwing my wife behind my back while I was mourning my father. That's some sick shit, Jake." I could see the guilt in his eyes, but it didn't change what he'd done. I told him he'd lost my trust and I didn't want to see him anymore. Over time, I realized that I'd only be hurting myself if I kept dwelling on the betrayal. I couldn't change what they did, but I could choose how to move forward. I started focusing on myself, going to therapy, picking up old hobbies I'd neglected, and reconnecting with friends I'd pushed away in my grief. It wasn't easy, but slowly I felt the heaviness lift. I still had days where I'd wake up feeling empty, angry, or just plain numb. But I kept reminding myself, I'm better off without her. I deserved someone who respected me, who didn't cheat during my darkest days. One thing I learned from all this is that people reveal their true colors in moments of weakness, and I'd been blind to hers for too long. I also learned that trust is fragile, and once broken, it's almost impossible to repair. Sometimes the pain of betrayal cuts so deep that you have to radically cut ties and rebuild from scratch. That's what I did. I chose to walk away from the toxic, manipulative woman I thought I knew, and I promised myself I wouldn't let this ruin me. Now I'm trying to focus on healing. I won't lie, it's a slow process, but I've realized that I'm stronger than I thought. And despite the heartbreak, I'm starting to see a new future, one where I trust myself more, where I value honesty, and where I don't let someone like her determine my happiness. I guess you could say I'm still trying to pick up the pieces, but I know I will. Because I've learned that even the deepest wounds can heal with time, and sometimes losing everything is the only way to find yourself again. Looking back, I realize that this whole ordeal has changed me in ways I never expected. I used to think love meant trusting blindly, giving someone the benefit of the doubt even when all the signs pointed to something wrong. Now I see differently. Trust has to be earned, and if someone crosses that line, especially in the most vulnerable moments of your life, then they don't deserve it anymore. Emily's betrayal wasn't just about cheating. It was about her complete disregard for my feelings, my grief, and everything we'd built together. I've come to accept that sometimes the people we love aren't the people we thought they were. That realization is bitter, but it's also liberating. I won't spend my life looking back at what was lost. I prefer to focus on what I have now, a chance to rebuild, to learn, and to grow stronger from this pain. Trust is fragile, but I've learned I can rebuild it in myself first. I've learned that I don't need someone who lies and manipulates to feel whole. I need honesty, respect, and someone who actually cares. The biggest lesson I want to share with anyone reading this is that betrayal cuts deep, but it also reveals your strength. If you're going through something similar, know that it's okay to feel broken. It's okay to be angry, to cry, to question everything. But don't let it define you. Take that pain and use it to become better. Protect your heart, learn from those who hurt you, and don't settle for less than you deserve. Because in the end, the only person who truly matters in your story is you. I won't say I've fully moved on yet, but I am moving forward. I'm making peace with the past, and I'm focusing on building a future worth living. Emily's betrayal was a brutal wake-up call, but it also made me realize my worth. I've started trusting again, myself first, then others. And maybe someday I'll find love again. But for now, I'm just grateful to be free from her lies, her manipulations, and her bitchy attitude. That's the final lesson I've learned. Sometimes losing everything is the only way to find yourself. And honestly, I think I'm finally on my way.